I'll make a motion. Second.
Let's salute the flag. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moment of silence for the military serving in this country and out of this country. Thank you. Your emergency exits are on your left, our right. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Reamer?
Here.
Councilwoman Brody?
Here.
Councilwoman Hetzelberger?
Here.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Here.
And Supervisor Flood?
Here. First on the agenda is we need a motion to open the public hearing for the 2014 preliminary budget.
I'll make the motion. I second.
Tom? Budget or regular? For budget or regular?
Tom Werner, Amenia. I'd like to know if the lawsuit that we had just lost, which I'm not sure of how big it was, 3.4 million. Is that going to be reflected in this budget?
The only, from what I understand, is that the only, the town levy was about 12 or 13,000, which they picked up. They did not, we did not have to pick it up. Where you're going to see the increase is in the school district. That's like $190,000 hit, I think, with the school district. So town-wise, I talked to Ron Gonzoli. He feels that he could, you know, we have, obviously we have a couple big homes under construction that he'll be able to pick that up. So we should be okay on our end.
Okay, well, I was just wondering about it, whether it's going to reflect on this year's budget or next year's.
We're in it this year. We're okay so far.
Okay.
I hope.
Not one of those forward.
Well, your tax is going to go up. Your county's going to go up. There's no question. You know, they're still at $24 million short. So your school taxes, I don't know if they're going to hit the cap or not. I think they have the mandatory hit the cap this year, I believe. But we'll see what happens.
Thank you, Wayne Uvard. First, elections are over, so I certainly want to thank all the candidates that put their name up there and went through the effort of running and getting on the ballot. I know it's a lot of work, going out, get your petitions, getting the signatures, and all the events, the candidate nights and stuff. But it's nice to see the democratic system work, and you know, we always seem to have candidates that come forward, so that's great. And certainly congratulations to the winners. And I'm sure we're going to have a good town board next year, and hopefully you can all work together for the betterment of our wonderful town. As far as the budget hearing, I have a few comments. I was a little disappointed when I came back last week, and I normally the public hearing is held the first Thursday after election. That wasn't the case, and here we are tonight. I stopped by Monday to try and get a preliminary budget. It wasn't available. It wasn't available until today, and that's really a poor process to do. It doesn't give people much time to look at it, but I don't know what process you're using. I've got some questions. Are you going to go line by line, or are you just going to take questions?
Take questions.
Okay, very good. I've seen very little written in the press, or and absolutely no statements. Can any of the board members tell me what this tax increase is going to be for next year? Mrs. Doyle, do you know?
I believe it's supposed to be under 2%, but we didn't get a definitive number yet.
You didn't get a number?
No.
But you've got your preliminary.
Sure.
But there was still some questions about how much money was to be, would be on our assessed rolls and such, so we're still figuring that out.
The
Wow.
tax cap is at 1.45.
With this preliminary budget? Well, I guess my math is a little bit different. As most of you know, I've done this budget for about 14 years. You're incorrect. And all you have to do is look at your tax rate schedule, the last page on the preliminary. Our town tax is figured on the general and highway together. All the others are separate. If you add up the implied tax for the general and highway, last year was 2.37. This year is 2.46. That's a 3.5% increase. I know normally we were working with a 2% cap. I understand this year with inflation it's 1.66. You actually look at your tax levy, and that, again, that is the amount raised by amount to be raised by tax, adding general and highway. The 2013 tax levy is $1,344,315. I'm sorry I'm giving out a lot of numbers, but that's the way my math works. This 2014 preliminary budget shows $1,396,239. That's an extra $52,000. It's been a normal ballpark figure. Every $10,000 in our town is 1%. It's coming out to about 3.75%. So you're way over the cap at 2% and 1.66. So either you're going to have a budget way over the cap, or you're going to have to find some reductions. I went through line by line, and you know, I'm sure everybody spent quite a bit of time. I'm on page 3. Do many people have the preliminary? Under page 3, contingencies. Last year was 60,000. You're keeping that at 60,000. I'm just curious on your activity report, how much of that contingency was spent this year?
Actually, I think most of it for law.
I'm sorry?
Most of it, I think, was spent for, a lot of it we used for, some of it for legal fees, some of it for the building,
Okay.
and so on and so forth. I don't know the exact figure. I can get that for you.
Okay. Because, you know I kept it a little bit high when we first moved into this building because there was so many variables, but again, without an activity report, I don't know how much you spent, but there's a number that probably could be cut back. I know there's work done on the landfill. I see, when you say landfill planning, the next line went from 16,000 to 46,000. That's 30,000 extra. Now, what is that landfill planning?
That's an interest payment.
Huh?
That's your interest payment.
Okay, okay. Probably should be labeled that, not planning, right? Just, because that's good. Obviously, we're going to have to pay that off, so that's fine. On page 4, recreation director. I don't know exactly what's going on. Recreation has always been very important to me. You got from 26,000 down to 0. We always had a summer program, and I always thought there was somebody to help Sean down there. I don't know what rec is planning, but to go to actually 0, is that your plan?
That was actually to hire a rec director, which we had interviews. We couldn't get anybody to do it. They wanted more money, so at this point we just took it out.
Okay.
Sean does need someone, though, to help him.
That's what I understood. Sean needs some help. About halfway down, page 4, under zoning personal service and planning personal services, we've increased about 5,500. I was wondering why that is.
Where are you, Wayne?
Page 4,
Yep.
Zoning,
Yeah.
8010, if you're going by the second group of numbers, 8010.1. You had 2,500 that wasn't existing. It went from 6,009 to 9,009. There's 3,000 and 5,500 extra.
The planning board asked for more money for legal fees, more money for consultant fees, and so on and so forth.
Okay, that shouldn't be under personal services then, right?
Planning personal service, actually, the increase is for Sue Metcalf, because we didn't have enough money in the budget for her last year. There was a consolidation when Lana left. A lot of her planning duties moved to Sue,
Okay,
and
All right.
we
Right.
didn't have an adequate amount in the budget to cover it.
okay. And the zoning? Zoning personal service? I don't think we ever had a line there.
That's Nina Peak's fee, I
That's
think.
Nina Peak, that's
Yeah.
right, we've always had
Sorry?
That's her fee.
Nina Peak
Zoning.
for the zoning, for the, oh, okay, 2,500, I guess that's for the minutes there.
Yeah.
2,500 for the ZBA?
Let me see.
Goes from zero.
13,000 was for the legal fees. We added more money because they asked for more money because of they were short. So there's a little bit of budget there, a little bit of money there. Obviously, Nina Peak's got to be, she's paid $2,500 anyway. That looks like, well, that's where she is, right there.
Yeah.
Zoning.
Somebody's confused. Zoning, to me, is zoning board of appeals or zoning office. Planning would be Nina Peak, I believe. So again, I'm seeing
Well, I
2,500.
think we also separated out the legal fees that the zoning incurs versus the,
Okay.
but, you know, we have had greater expenses at both the
Okay.
zoning and the
All right.
planning board
Okay.
fees, and we're trying to be
Well,
more
maybe
realistic.
it should be
so we don't-
designated legal fees, not personal service. I mean, that would be maybe less confusing.
Well, I'm not positive
Yeah,
that that
okay.
isn't
All right.
Sue Metcalf's minutes that she needs to
Uh-huh.
take for the ZBA.
Okay, all right. And then planning CE, which I guess is contractual, that went up about 12,000. That's line 8020.4.
Legal fees.
Yeah, we agreed
Right.
to go to 13,000
Okay.
because
All
that's what it costs for the increased
I
activities.
understand costs go up, but again, it's going to be difficult to stay within your cap. Toward the bottom of the line page is workers' comp. I know we had started working with Dutchess County for better rates. Is that what, that's going from 12 to 4,000 for workers' comp? That seems surprising to me. Of all what I hear about insurance rates, I know with the group rate, we might save something through the county, but I didn't see a similar reduction in highway. Workers' comp.
Wayne, you
I'm
wanted
sorry.
to know what we'd used in contingency so far this year?
Uh-huh.
It was $43,453.29.
43, so,
That's what we've used to date in
you know, you could-
contingency.
you got 60, you could, if you trim that down to 45, that's saving you some money right there, even 50. Just a suggestion, because I think you have to cut some money out of here. And to finish up on the general fund, besides your increase in spending from last year of the 50,000, which again shows up on page 5, you're showing a fund balance of 130,000. You started the year with 195, and I know I left the town with a very good fund balance. So you went from 195 to 130, so there's an extra 65,000 that had to go somewhere. So I'd be kind of curious on activity reports or whatever. If your fund balance is dropping, it obviously had to be spent.
I think it's a conservative estimate. We're just in November and we don't yet know what all of our numbers are, so that's
I went-
always a
I,
conservative way to go rather than assume that you have more money than you, you know, it's better to go lower
Problem is all
rather than higher.
your revenues are all down too, so
Revenues are down?
your
Yeah.
revenues are down. You know, water
Sales
company's
tax.
down, sales tax is down,
Okay,
mortgage tax is down,
all right.
but we may get it. You know, they're saying we may get the sales tax, so we put it back in, so, you know, I'm
Yep.
trying to leave some money in
Yep.
there for
I know-
the next
I know,
budget.
it's a tough call, yep.
It's a tough call.
I understand.
Well, actually, the county has capped the amount of sales tax that
Right.
the towns can get.
Yep.
But we're under it at this point.
And he's going to give us an energy tax to help out the county. So, but
Well,
that's a horse with a different color.
that's a mess.
It's a mess, yeah. Yep. Highway Department, I can't complain a bit. Stanley's over there, so I can't complain. No, he does a good job on the budget. My only comment on, and that has nothing to do with Stanley, is, again, his fund balance was 50,000 and it's zero. So, there's 50,000 that's not showing. So, you've got a heavy increase, that almost 4%, 3.75%, and your cap is 1.66. Last comment, and I'll sit down. Water district. Looks like there's a pretty heavy increase in the water district tax. If my calculations, according to the back page, you're about 8% increase there to the water district. They never like to see a tax. We've tried to keep that down. I know we had to increase it with the water meters were installed. But your unmetered sales are dropping from 70 to 62, and that's in the wrong direction. That's where the increase should be, in your metered sales. I don't think the
committee's working on on increasing the water sales. They've been doing it for months.
Well,
I don't know where they are with it. But
I'm not in the water district, but anybody that is, they're going to see an 8% tax increase there, So, I know you've worked hard on this. I think there has to be a little more work. Unfortunately, I think by town law, you have to have this approved by the 20th, so it doesn't give you much time. But thanks for listening.
That's it?
Evelyn O'Connell, Recreation. The last preliminary hearing we had requested that we have another person down at the field. We wanted somebody for 4 hours a day, 3 days a week, at $12 an hour, from March through the end of August. We really need 2 people. We never replaced Joel. We only have 1 person there. We have 3 areas now. We have 2 parks in the school. It's just too much work for 1 person. We have to hire another person. We have to fill Joel's position.
Now, what are the hours again?
They're 3 days a week, 4 hours, from 12 to 4 probably. We would like somebody during the day there.
From what month to what month?
From the beginning of March, March 1st, through August. I'm also concerned that you cut back on the park line. It's only $7,000. Last year we spent $10,000. If something goes wrong down there, we need that money for maintenance or for equipment if we need to replace equipment. Recreation has always given back at the end of the year. This year we're returning approximately $8,000. And we try to be very, frugal about how we spend the money. But we constantly give back and we have to fight for everything we want. And now our senior trip is only $2,000 this year and $5,000. I know this year we didn't spend it all because we had trouble getting it started. We didn't have anybody to run the program. And finally Vicki and Charlene stepped up and did it. But we are going to advertise for someone to do that. So I really think that $2,000 is only 2 trips. Recreation is the only thing that the taxpayer gets back besides, fire coverage and that kind of thing. But we're constantly giving back and we have to fight for everything we want. We had a rec director line for $26,000. I don't know where that went, but it went to 1,000 something. We never got anything out of that. I don't know who used it, how, or where. We have no say in our budget this past year. We're supposed to be able to use the money that's allocated to us. We weren't allowed to do that all the time. And so I'm just hoping that these issues can get straightened around. Thank you.
That's it. Thank you. I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
And return to the regular meeting. Public comments?
Betsy?
Hello, I'm Betsy McCall. I live in Wassaic and I work at the Northeast Community Center. I run the Millerton Farmers Market and I also coordinate the 7th and 8th grade after school program at Weebatech. I wanted to make sure Amenia and Wassaic knew about our USDA funded community food assessment and planning project for the towns of Amenia, Northeast, and Pine Plains. This is an 18-month project. We just started it in September. So we're in the process of engaging community partners, collecting existing data, and we're building our assessment team. So this team will form a survey that will be conducted in the 3 towns. We'll also be holding focus groups. And this data that we collect will help shape the community center's food program. So we focus a lot on food access in the area, accepting food stamps at the farmers market nutrition checks, also the fresh food pantry. So I just wanted to make sure that this flyer got out there and that people knew about the potlucks that we'll be holding January, February, and March. Will be on the 4th Wednesday of every month at the community center. Also, we'll be having a coat drive at the community center tomorrow, so people who need a coat can come pick one up from 1 until 6, and the coats are free. So I will leave these here, and people can grab one on the back.
You should give them to put on 22. Channel 22.
Okay. Yeah, I think I emailed Mary.
Thanks, Betsy. Anyone else?
Mike Collins.
Hey, Mike.
Michael Collins, Amenia. We've lived in the village of Amenia for nearly 10 years. For those 10 years, there's been constant issues that affect the quality of life. There are issues with non-caring or absentee landlords who leave or allow their tenants to leave piles of garbage and debris for weeks and even months at a time. Other landlords have even been less concerned for this community, renting their apartments to convicted sex offenders. Several years ago, I complained about the poor conditions of Amenia's sidewalks, about piles of garbage left at the curb for months on end, about waist-high weeds that would collapse under their own weight. I stated that the parking regulation signs were nothing more than pollution if they are never enforced. Despite what some people believe, I did this because I care about the community that I raised my children in. After complaining at a board meeting years ago, one woman actually stated at the podium that Michael Collins' time would be better spent picking the weeds himself. I thought to myself, what a terribly ignorant thing to say. Ironically, her words rang true, as nothing has been done to address these simple quality of life issues. I believe in the so-called broken window syndrome, which in effect states that neglect breeds neglect. Why should these landlords clean up their act if the town of Amenia is one of the biggest offenders? Why should these landlords care as long as there's a neglected building partially owned by a planning board member? Yet for at least the last 10 years, there has been countless hours of discussion and tens of thousands of dollars spent with the grandiose idea that adding small trees and big planters will somehow be a solution. It is time to take off the blinders and the rose-colored glasses and actually do something so you can see the forest through the trees. Why do you neglect what we have, yet spend so much money pursuing more? Some of the trees planted along Mechanic Street just a few years ago are within a foot of the overhead wires. To think that taxpayer money was used to pay landscape architects for this design is simply absurd. We resent the previous town board's decisions to pay photographers and consultants and web designers to show us how beautiful Amenia could be without addressing simple quality of life issues. The guys who did the recent brickwork and planting did a great job. They both seemed like decent people as well. However, did we need them? Did we need to put a tree next to an abandoned couch? Did we need to put a bench near a broken, neglected bench? Or next to an area near Fountain Square that is never maintained? Did we need a new tree next to dead stumps entwined in chain link fence? Did we need to plant yet another tree just under the wires and near the broken plate glass windows of a building partially owned by a planning board member? Did we need a large concrete planter next to the obnoxious sign at the Shell station, near the broken railing? Why not put one in front of the closed donation box across the street near Sonny and Harry's? According to Family Watchdog, one of their tenants is a convicted sex offender. One building, partially owned by planning board member Tony Robustelli and near the center of town, has been a regular source of declining quality of life issues and neglect. At one time, several people lived in a small 2-bedroom apartment. They couldn't walk by without uttering the F word several times. A business moved in for a very short period a couple of years ago. A large, heavy sign broke free from the second floor and landed at the curb. One large plate glass window has been cracked for years. Another, that upstairs tenants must pass, looks as though it may cave in at any time. I watched during winter storm last year as a driver, in an effort to avoid a rear-end collision, crossed the sidewalk and damaged the facade. And while it doesn't appear to be a lot of damage, and insurance money may have been collected, it remains an eyesore that is yet to be repaired. Planting a tree near it doesn't make it better. Why should a property owner be subjected to the opinion of someone with apparent disregard for their own property? Isn't it time, you've had 10 years and probably more, to begin using common sense and logic to decide what this town really needs? Isn't it time to take off the blinders and the rose-colored glasses and take an honest look around? It is easy and plain to see. There are improvements that can be made everywhere without the use of grant writers, photographers, consultants, web designers, etc. Why has nothing been done about the very obvious neglect that remains today but was brought to your attention 10 years ago? Why do we continue to spend taxpayer money pursuing more while neglecting what we have? There are many good people who volunteer their time to the town, and we are grateful to those who do so without selfishness, especially the fire and rescue squads and those who do the litter patrols each year. We are grateful to the committee members and others who donate their time in an altruistic manner. We live in the village, and we see the neglect every single day. I'd be interested to know, the planning board minutes are not posted, or they weren't a week ago, whether Mr. Robustelli commented in planning board regarding a new deli that opened over here. I think there would appear to be a conflict of interest And I'd like to know when those minutes will be posted.
I would assume, if they're not already, they're not?
I didn't check today. Checked a week or two ago.
I'll check on Monday,
Want to
Tuesday.
read
Sue's
through
not
it?
in tomorrow, right?
She's in on Monday.
Huh?
She'll be here Monday.
Monday, yeah, so we'll double check and see where they are. Maybe, I don't know if Mary has, I don't think, well, Sue would upload them himself, right?
Like I said, years ago I complained about, there's more across the street from us, and I end up doing it 2 out of 3 times that the state signs got totally engrossed in vines and weeds. I helped the library guys 2 out of 3 times it was cut down. It all came from private property. There was no reason. Stanley Whitehead came out there and did it the first time, and there was no reason for him to be out there doing it, spending town taxpayer money coming from weeds that are growing from private property. Well, my printer was out of color ink, so I've got a bunch of discolored photos that you people are welcome to have. And it's all neglect. A picture's worth 1,000 words. There's another 15,000. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One last public comment, Tom.
Tom Warren. I'd like to compliment Wayne for his effort on this. I remember one time not too long ago, and Wayne wasn't, I think he was on the board at the time. We had assured that the tax increase would only be 4%. It turned out to be 40%. Please don't let that happen this time. Thank you.
Water department? Building department? Town board members, please find October's monthly report for the building department as follows. We have issued 17 new building permits, which totals $5,397.80, and 1 tent permit for $100. We're continuing with certificate of occupancy searches, and for this month we did 5 searches, which total to $850. And for fire inspections, for this month we did 4 inspections, which totals $875. Total this month $7,222.80. Highway department.
Yes, we've been very busy getting ready for winter. Everything's looking pretty good. All the equipment's in good shape now. We had a major breakdown on the 2008 Mack injectors. So that bill there is around $7,300. Injectors and a wiring harness. So that's a hefty bill. I want to explain to Wayne why we don't have a fund balance. We did all of our blacktopping and oil and stoning early this summer, and then come the end of August, we had to go down to Willow Lane, finish up Willow Lane, which we had no money in the budget for that. I applied for reimbursement, which is almost $21,000 for our labor and the rental of machines. That's been reapplied for. So we'll be getting a check for $21,000 back. Then we went to Tower Hill, FEMA. That's a grant for $148,000. We had nothing in the budget for it, not a penny. So I did all the math and paperwork on it, completed today, and we spent $163,000 there. and we'll probably get back around like 111. But the projects are done, they look good, I think, and that's the main reason why we don't have any money. I'm surprised we have any money.
Thanks for clearing it up. We've always tried to keep fund balance, right?
Yeah,
Okay, thanks.
that's about all I have. Any questions, anybody? Or?
Thanks, Dan. Committee reports?
I want to just remind people that as far as I understand, our Holiday of Lights will be on December 14th. That's on Saturday, December 14th this year, a week later than usual, and to start thinking about getting involved in some way. It'll be held from roughly 2:30 until our final event around 6 or 7 o'clock. And if you have any interest in participating in some way, you could come to our enhancement committee meetings, which are the third Wednesdays here at the town hall at 5:30.
You want to announce when the
5:15,
next
5:30.
one is?
What's that?
You want to announce when the next one is?
Our next meeting, the third
It's the
Wednesday.
20th, right?
Oh, I have to look on my calendar. If it's the third Wednesday,
Yeah,
it'd be
it's
the
the
20th.
20th.
Yeah.
Could I say something to the
Come up to the microphone.
microphone so people can hear you.
Evelyn O'Connell Recreation. At our meeting Tuesday night, we found out about how confusing it was last year with all the children with Santa. So Recreation is going to set up a couple tables with arts and crafts so the kids could do that while they're waiting for Santa. So we need to get involved with you to see how we'll work that out.
When's your next meeting?
Okay, when is the next?
When's your next? Ours is Wednesday, the 20th at 5:15 here at Town
Oh,
Hall.
I'll have to come there because ours isn't until January.
Oh, yeah, come to
Okay.
ours.
Wastewater, we'll talk about that. We have a meeting, meaning Janet Reagan, Candace Balmer, myself, and Ed Mills out at the county to discuss how we're going to proceed with establishing a district, whether it would be a county district, a town district. So we're going to toss around some ideas. So there'll be a formal meeting of wastewater. I don't know when that will be, but our meeting at the county is December 3rd. So I can report in December how that went. Silo Ridge is participating, not in that particular meeting, but participating in the wastewater effort for the town. Also, you may know the Main Street grant is well underway. The Patel building was recently funded, reimbursements, so that ongoing renovation will continue. We're in a very tight timeline. The library is well, next week, I guess you get your sign in. And then if you've noticed, the Claire Houlihan's building, the post office, is just about wrapped up. And so those three buildings will be getting all the funding from the grant. And actually, we just got our sign approved for this sign will be placed in every building. It actually has the name of the people who were involved during the process. This had to go to Albany for approval. The ones that they have in Albany, I was up there at the center where they approved these signs. They have several around Albany that are 4 by 8. And we were asking for a smaller sign that we could put in a window, so they did approve this the other day. But it has the committee members, people involved, Mike Haggerty and Peter Karras, our landscape architect. It's an effort. I know it's Michael Collins speaking about more to be done. This grant actually comes up again next year, and I hope I can be involved in it next year as well. I think it's an effort. If we can target some buildings or things that need attention in town, this is the vehicle to do it. It's a great program. That's all I have.
Can you talk about Patel's building, what's going to actually occur there? once he gets his second phase going? 'Cause I don't
Yeah.
know that people know that there's gonna be an awning and it's gonna
Yeah,
have
that
a
box
a
that
big
is at the,
improvement there.
that's, was done in the 50s on the front of the Patel building. The sign now is moved up, and Hard Roll Express is up higher. It will have gooseneck lights on it. There's a striped awning that projects out from the building that's 4 feet. We're hoping to get some seating in there. It has to go before the planning board, but we're in cold weather, but I would hope by spring, summer, that there can be outside seating. And a lot of people, unfortunately, think that the deli is closed, and that's not the case. They're actually closing their deli in Pine Plains and putting all their effort into Amenia. So it's going to grow, it will get larger, it will be busier, and I think the new facade will get a lot of attention. And as I said, the post office building is pretty much completed. So these signs will be going in the windows. I have to submit a photograph of the sign in the buildings that are under construction, and that's part of the record of this whole process. So, and of course, the library got storm windows, and the new sign that's going in the front of the building. And of course, the planters and the benches, they're all part of this project. So we'll be taking out the wooden barrels, you know, the concrete barrels that you see, or the planters will be permanent fixtures, and the barrels will be taken away at some point. It's ongoing, and our deadline is this calendar year, the end of 2013. So it's very tight, and we're looking forward to having it completed.
Do we need to meet again with property owners, or is Mike Haggerty sufficiently have what he needs to move forward? Is it just a matter of him following through?
Yes, and
Okay.
I think Victoria is working with him. I've been working with him. I've been talking directly with Aaron Kinney up at the state to make sure that we have all the paperwork, that it's submitted properly and filled out properly. We did have some issues with the Patel building, only because the application originally was applied for in Patel's name and not the building's name. So we amended that contract going forward, and everything is smooth. He did receive his funding, so things will happen on
Very
his building.
quickly?
Very
He's gonna
quickly.
go
The
right
awning-
into action.
The awning
Yeah.
was ordered several weeks ago. It's a matter of paying the balance to get it installed.
Okay.
So,
Thank you for all your hard work and for Sherry's work getting all of the paperwork straight, because free money isn't free money. It comes with a lot of work
Right.
to make all the
you have to pay
paperwork
attention to the details.
happen. Right.
And if the details are not completed, they could the state could recapture the money, and we don't want to be in that position. So
Right.
we're just shepherding this along and assisting Mike as needed to get it done.
Appreciate
Well, I spent several hours with him today. No.
Oh, I was going to mention, just on behalf of CAC, is that they have agreed, Mark Doyle, all the members on the CAC, Dave Reagan, has agreed to take on the
Maps?
looking up the maps
Oh,
and
great.
trying to make sure that the zoning maps are correct and corrected, and work with the county. So I think if that's okay with everybody else, we'll allow them to work with the planning board, the zoning enforcement officer, and make sure all of our maps are correctly on file and straightened out, and using the process we'll have to undergo to. But they'll come with their recommendations to the town board.
Great, wonderful.
Town clerk's report? Sorry, Gretchen, you have anything to say?
No, I'm good.
Good evening. The town clerk's office remitted to the supervisor last week $344.25 for the local shares that are remitted. Minutes have been presented to the board. I have been working with General Code in getting the 2012 and the 2013 local laws updated. We're going to come back as soon as they give me the final price to make sure that we're within budget if we only have to do maybe 1 year and work on the next. I'd like to remind all the hunters out there that the hunting season does begin this weekend, November 16th and to remind you to ensure that you're using all of your safety tools that you've been taught when you are hunting. So everyone's aware that gun season does begin this weekend. In regards to the holiday lights, on our website, under enhancement, we had Mary update the list because it had the week
Yes, the
prior.
wrong date, right.
So just as Vicki has already stated, December 14th is the Parade of Lights. And to remind everyone that the town clerk's office is accepting volunteer positions. The applications are for the open seats of the Recreation Commission, that's open now, Planning Board, ZBA, Ethics, Workforce Housing, that all will begin in the beginning of the new year, and the grant writer assistant, and I have also received an application for wastewater committee. So some applications are coming in, and the deadline is next Wednesday, November 20th at noon.
What was that for?
For all of the open positions we advertised.
Is
for.
there anyone on CAC whose position is up, Vicki?
I think they rotate every year, so we should have somebody coming up on the CAC. Is it on the web?
I did
what
not
their
advertise for
terms are?
CAC because that wasn't one that, you guys don't have terms by each name. It kind of was, everyone was put on.
I think what we need to do is just check with the chairs of all the committees and see if, if there's someone who's going to be going off or.
I'll find out from Dave Reagan if he has the terms.
So CAC possibly, okay. Well, if anyone's interested in CAC, you can submit that. And if we find out, we'll make it, we'll add it to the list on the
I think he
website.
has the terms. He does. He has the list, which he submits to the county every year now.
I just want to make sure none of the committees were missed.
Thanks.
That's it?
Can I just ask about the trail to the train?
Sure.
There is a trail to the train committee, but it's not very active, and doesn't have regular meetings. And I did suggest that perhaps we could revive that committee with new members, because the trail's going to be built next year, and there's a lot, sort of, community is not aware of the project as much as it was. It's been 3 years since we had the grant. It would be good to have public meetings, to include more members of a broader base from the whole community on the committee. So I was going to suggest that I would be willing to come back on the committee if the existing members would want me to be there, or suggest that you think about reconstructing the committee in a different form, just because I think it's really important to get people involved.
Well, if you're interested in coming back on the committee, you can fill out a volunteer application, and we can add Trail to the Train committee to the list of committees we're looking for members for.
Okay, because how many members are on it now?
2.
Okay, so we had, when I was chair of the committee, we had, I think, 5 members.
Right.
So perhaps we could advertise for that?
We could add that to the list of committees with vacancies.
Very good.
Thank you.
Just on that note, just so anyone that's listening, the volunteer applications are right outside the town clerk's office. If you come in, and even in the evening hours, if you're participating in activities, right outside the office, you can locate a volunteer application form. It's very self-explanatory. Fill it out. You can slide it right underneath the door. This time of year, you guys are used to hearing the town board members saying that we're looking for all committees, all volunteers. Just if you're not on a board, you can still participate and help them. What we did in the newspaper is we put in all of the active boards. So like for Trail to the Trains, if we know there's open seats, we're always recruiting. So still put your application in. So just drop it off.
While we're on committees, can we go ahead and accept Victoria Alexander, who has applied for the wastewater committee?
All of the
we have to do it all at one
applications were
time?
not given to all the board members because the deadline is due the 20th, and then that way we have them for the 21st.
Yeah, we can do that on the 21st.
And this clerical help, did that go out?
No,
That's something new.
I had that printed because Sue Metcalf is going to be away for 3 months, and she originally had someone else lined up to fill in for her, and that person has since decided not to take the job.
So this has to be advertised also?
So that has to be advertised.
Okay.
Do you have a copy of it?
It's in this packet that Mary left.
Right.
I can do so, and then we'll have it for a December meeting. I can send this ad over, do you want just in the Millerton News, or are you looking to broaden?
Yeah, the Millerton News, Channel 22, the network, everywhere.
Yeah.
And post
We'll make
it
sure they
also.
get it
And
tonight.
also post it here in the town
Absolutely.
hall.
Okay. The due date will be the first week of December, and we can put it on our first, I don't have my phone, so you have your phone. If we put it in the paper, our next meeting is the 12th. We can have the applications due for December 11th at noon, and I can present them to the board for December 12th, if we get
I'm
one.
just thinking that Sue is gonna be away in January, so we will have Christmas. She will have 1 week to train,
They
we
don't,
Haven't we used
10
Mary in the
days.
past to do it?
Can we?
So, I don't know, Mary's
but
done
I
it.
think Sue will be gone,
Right.
January through March, right?
Right, she's gone.
It's a long time. Is there any way to get it sped up faster, or is it just?
Well, we can put it on Channel 22 now. I wanted to read the ad so people would know what it says. Clerical help wanted. The Town of Amenia is seeking a Planning Zoning Board of Appeals secretary involving responsibility for attending up to 2 to 3 evening meetings a month, recording and typing minutes, contacting applicants and contractors by phone, email, schedule public hearings, create agendas, conduct correspondence, and maintain files for the Planning and Zoning Board. This is a part-time temporary position for 3 months, January, February, and March 2014, as well as backup for the Planning ZBA Secretary throughout the year. Please call the Building Office, Planning Board Office to schedule an interview at 845-373-8860, extensions 118 or 122. So if there's anyone out there interested,
I will just, they like it electronic.
Tommy, did you want to take it also?
Send me a copy of it so I have it.
What is the extension again?
I don't. But if you could
118 or
send me that, that'd
122.
be great.
All right, discussion of the proposed local law amending the outdoor boiler. You all have that? Is
Yeah.
that a proposal for tonight? No.
What you have to do is you have to read the resolution for this evening, so that way we can make
We have to introduce the local
the
law
public
tonight.
hearing notice. It's attached in this.
You want to do Mount Kelsey first?
What's that? No.
Okay.
I'm sure.
You want the resolution read in? No. I don't think I have it.
I can give you mine. You just don't write on it?
You have the resolution, that's it.
The
Oh, that, yes.
Yes,
That's
that's
also
it.
the public hearing notice.
resolution number
75.
75 of 2013, introducing proposed local law number 5 of 2013, amending Chapter 84 of the Town Code entitled Outdoor Wood Boilers. At a regular meeting of the Town Board of the Town of Amenia held at the Amenia Town Hall on the 14th day of November 2013 to 7 p.m., Town Supervisor William Flood called the meeting to order, and
Paul.
Vicki Doyle, seconded by Councilwoman, introduced the following local law to be known as proposed local law number 5 of 2013, entitled the local law amending Chapter 84 of the Code of the Town of Amenia, outdoor wood boilers. Now therefore be enacted by the Town Board of the Town of Amenia as follows. Statement of purpose and intent. The Town Board recognizes the impact that outdoor wood boilers have on the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of the Town of Amenia. The New York State Department of Environmental Conservation recently enacted regulations regarding outdoor wood boilers. The DEC regulations can be found at 6 NYCRR Part 3, 2247.1. DEC regulations. The Town Board acknowledges that any regulations for the Town of Amenia should meet or exceed the minimum standards established under DEC regulations. The Town Board further has determined that the current version of Chapter 84 of the Town of Amenia Code entitled Outdoor Wood Boilers which was enacted prior to the adoption of the DEC regulations, is no longer consistent with the standards set forth in the DEC regulations and therefore should be amended. Accordingly, the town board has determined that in order to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the residents of the town of Amenia, the current version of Chapter 84 of the town code should be repealed in its entirety and an amended version of the Chapter 84 enacted, which incorporates all the standards of the DEC regulations. Section 2, Chapter 84 of the Code of the Town of Amenia, entitled Outdoor Wood Boilers, is hereby amended by repealing Chapter 84 in its entirety and enacting a new Chapter 84 annexed hereto to Attachment A. Section 3, the local law shall take effect immediately upon the filing with the State Secretary of State. Pursuant to the Municipal Home Rule Law of the State of New York, it is necessary to hold a public hearing upon this local law, whereas on November 14, 2013, the Town Board introduced this proposed local law for the Town of Amenia, known as the Town of Amenia Proposed Local Law Number 5 of 2013, entitled A Local Law Amending Chapter 84 of the Code of the Town of Amenia Outdoor Wood Boilers. Now therefore be resolved that the public hearing be held in relation to the proposed changes as set forth in the form of notice hereinafter, provided at which hearing parties and interested citizens shall have the opportunity to be heard, to be held at the Town Hall on December 12, 2013 at 7 p.m. And that notice of said hearing shall be published in an official newspaper in the general circulation of the Town of Amenia by the town clerk at least 5 days before such public hearing, and that such notice shall be given the following form. Notice of public hearing, take notice that the Town of Amenia, the Town Board of the Town of Amenia will hold a public hearing at Town Hall, 4988 Route 22, New York, Amenia, New York, on December 12, 2013, 7 o'clock p.m. on the proposed local law number 5, 2013, entitled Local Law Amending Chapter 84 of the Code of the Town of Amenia Outdoor Wood Boilers. Take further notice that copies of the aforesaid proposed local law will be available for examination of the town at the Town of Amenia Town Hall, 4988 Route 22, Amenia, New York, during normal business hours on all business days between the date of this notice and the date of the public hearing. Take further notice that all persons interested in citizens shall have an opportunity to be heard on said proposal at the time and place there aforesaid. You're going to propose that, put that in the paper?
Supervisor Flood?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
No.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilwoman Prody?
Yes.
And Councilwoman Reamer?
Yes.
Motion carries.
And I'd just like to point out that the change in the outdoor wood boiler law will be in the town clerk's office for anyone who wants to review it before the public hearing. And online.
This item is already online.
Thank you.
It was on 2 weeks after our last meeting. So the
Terrific.
old versus the new.
Thank you.
Other matters, we have a letter from the Sheriff's Office that their hourly rate for 2014, Deputy Sheriff, part-time at $21.97 an hour, entry-level $36.22 an hour, senior member $64.39 an hour, administrative fees $33.47 per hour, mileage 61 cents, fringe benefits charged in addition to hourly rates, retirements 23.22%, FICA 7.65%. A letter from the attorney Ian McDonald. You've all received a copy of this about the Willow Lane grant, but there's still some stuff that has to be signed by the contractor. So I believe the county has agreed to allow him to do that. I signed it. I think Stan signed it, right? We're all set with that?
I didn't say that.
Not yet.
Well, he doesn't need to sign it.
I signed it the other day, so that's done. So we should be getting your money shortly, I would hope.
Yeah, everything's been sent in.
Yeah. There's a list of people from the water district that have not paid their bills. Some were paid today. And there were some mistakes, which I think they're going to see if they can correct it tomorrow. So you all have that copy.
Yes.
There's another letter here from Mary Millette, the Wi-Fi in downstairs art room, which we never agreed to do Wi-Fi. We have internet services there, so
I
that
think
was
it should be
done.
at their cost, right?
Well, Wi-Fi is internet.
Right, but we've installed internet services there.
I know, but
believe.
it isn't working, so.
Yeah, but we never were asked to
That wasn't part of the
provide for,
contract. That wasn't part of
The contract with
iPads.
them is said provide phone and internet, and Wi-Fi is part of internet.
No.
No,
Not necessarily.
no.
No.
All we need to provide them with is an Ethernet jack. That's it. If they want to put in a Wi-Fi hotspot for their own particular Wi-Fi network that they run, then they can go ahead and do that and spend the money to do that. But the only thing we need to, according to the contract, which I went over, the only thing we need to do is to provide them with an Ethernet jack.
Which we have.
There you have it.
So we're done.
Has it been communicated to them that we're not going to pay for it?
Will be.
Because it seems this was quite a while ago when they asked for this.
Well, they've had the internet service, they've been there. So they've had the internet service there, but then they decided they wanted Wi-Fi. That's not something that we agreed to do.
It's the first time we've had a
Right.
chance to discuss it, I
Right.
think, as a board.
True.
Anything else on other matters? Oh, Mike?
Great, thank you for giving me some time. I did want to give you an update on what's going on in the county, specifically on the county budget. You may have seen last weekend we received word that the county bond rating has been reduced. We were an AA1, now we're an AA2, which is now went from second highest to the third highest rate, so that will affect us when we go out for bonding on projects. How, we don't know for sure yet. They also did, Moody's did change. We had a negative outlook. They did change that to a stable outlook. So in my opinion, it's kind of like a plus and a minus. I think we went from like an A minus to a B plus, but that's where we're at. And the reason for the change was due to our over-reliance on fund balance the last several years in our budget, which really underscores we have a revenue problem where we're not bringing enough revenue. We've been relying on the fund balance. And that's underscored especially this year because looking at our budget, the county executive prepared, there is a huge shortage of revenue. In his budget that he presented to us, it's a $411 million budget. It stays under the property tax cap, but that still means it's still going to raise taxes, property taxes, about 1.6, and that's about a $2 million revenue increase coming in from property tax levy. With that said, there's still a shortage. Last year, we sought to balance our budget by increasing the mortgage recording tax. This is a tax that takes place on a purchase of a home or a refinance. In order to do that, you needed, the state had to pass, we had a home rule request to the state, our state senators and our state assemblywomen or men, and asked them to give us permission. That was not forthcoming. Even when we adopted it last year, we had a change of election, we had different people going in. The county executive assured us that he was given assurances this would take place. It did not. We had a huge shortfall of several $1 million from last year, and that creates about a $7 million budget gap. The county executive's budget that was sent over us a little bit before November 1st that we're now considering seeks to fill that void by repealing an exemption, sales tax exemption on home energy use. That would be electricity, it would be home heating oil, it would be propane, natural gas, it would be wood, whatever people are using to produce energy. Currently, there's a sales tax on the commercial side, just not on residences. Personally, I feel that it's cruel and inhumane. I think it's similar to taxing food. It's something that people rely on, and government should not be looking for their income at that place, specifically during the winter. You look at people who are on fixed incomes, and during the winter, that's when your heat is the highest. You're paying your costs. It's also, you look at February, that's when your taxes are due. To me, it's not the right thing to do. But we are trapped between a rock and a hard place on where to get that revenue. We considered the possibility of pushing through the property tax cap and raising property taxes, that's still a significant amount. Probably about $7 million is about 7% in addition to the 2%. At our meeting on Tuesday, we considered the resolution, a local law, to allow us to go through the property tax cap, and it was defeated. There was not support among legislators to raise property taxes beyond the tax cap. So the good news is your property taxes won't be going up past that below the tax cap margin. But we still need to figure out what to do as far as the revenue. We are considering other possibilities, if there are any, for how we can bring in that revenue. It's just really not possible to cut $7 million from the budget. We've been cutting year after year. That where we can, there are some areas we can cut, but it's going to be very difficult to go too far. Things we are exploring right now is if we do this energy tax, repeal of the exemption on sales tax and energy. What if we only did it for part of the year, maybe enact it, say, April 1st and repeal it November 1st, so it's not really affecting those winter months. We're looking at that. We're looking at if we did allow this exemption to be repealed, would that bring enough income that we could lower property taxes? So that's being considered. We're also looking at raising the exemption for seniors on property. We're not at the highest level that we could be. So there's a lot of things that we're looking at when we go forward in this budget. There is a public hearing on Tuesday, December 3rd, for the public to let us to comment on the budget. We're having budget hearings right now in the legislature. The budget committee will adopt the budget, then there'll be a public hearing, and then the legislature will vote in December. I believe it's early December, but I think I have another meeting that I could probably come out and present to you on where we're at, but I'm not sure on the dates as far as that. Other items in the budget, there is about 8 layoffs. And at the same time, ironically, there's 9 new hires, and it needs some explanation. Those 9 hires are all grant funded, and one of them is a school prevention officer that's funded by a grant from the state, largely in response to the tragedies in Newtown. There will be somebody that's brought on in that new position, but most of the positions come in the area of the public defender's office. There's been a big movement afoot, specifically in New York. Our chief judge has said that there should be more attorneys available to the poor. And in September, we approved in the legislature a grant for $633,000 that will allow arraignment attorneys. These will be public defenders that will travel from justice court to justice court as there's people arrested being arraigned, and it will allow them to have representation at the very beginning of the process, where typically now they get arraigned, they may get sentenced to jail or somewhere else, or whatever happens, remanded, and then the lawyer comes in later. This new program will allow public defenders to be available to the poor immediately at arraignment, and under the system proposed by the Criminal Justice Council, these lawyers will be on call. They'll be 24/7, and will go out. If it's at night, they'll come out at night. The other idea, which was rejected, was a central arraignment center. So there'll be 2 new arraignment attorneys. We're also continuing the trend of doing public defenders in the family court. This was a project we started 2 budget cycles ago. We hired 2. We just hired 2 more. There's currently 4. And this budget will probably hire 2 additional attorneys that'll be at the family court. And the idea is it's consolidating cases to public defenders as opposed to private attorneys. We are seeing some cost savings there. And specifically, we are seeing these attorneys, at my request, they got involved last February in the child support unit. And when I looked at the jail census, I saw there was a large number, not a large number, but double digits of people in the jail who were there for failure to pay child support. And I asked public defenders to get involved, and they have now inserted themselves in 90% of the cases in the child support unit, and they've reduced the stay at the jail of people for child support cases about 30 days of the year for a savings of $100,000. So not only is it perhaps helping people from going to jail that perhaps shouldn't be, in my opinion. I don't think it's a debtor's prison, but it's also saving our taxpayers money because it is a taxpayer expense when people are in the jail. So there's several new positions in the jail or in the budget that I think are good, but ultimately our big issue this year is going to be what do we do about that revenue and whether or not we have a sales tax exemption on energy repealed in some portion or another. So that's pretty much all I have at this point, unless there's questions.
I just have a quick question on this, this energy tax. Businesses have always had it. I've had it forever, and there is no sunsetting of it. So if this were ever enacted, I think it should be, a date sunset in the beginning, not have it open-ended, because it seems like they just keep kicking that can and no one repeals it.
Right, and that we've been discussing that within our caucus, and some people say, well, we can repeal it any time, but we don't. And that's one of the things I think if we do enact it, there should be a sunset,
right.
And because then it forces us to reconsider it. The other thing to do keep in mind is it is a sales tax, and so that if it passes, some of the sales tax that increases, the municipalities share in that. So the town of Amenia would receive more as we're bringing in more, and that's important if there is a sunset, because if we're going to repeal it anytime, municipalities, when you do your budgeting, should know, look, this could expire November or October or December, that when you're doing your budgeting, you have to know, because if we just enact it and no sunset, you're going to count on it, and then we pull it next year, we say we don't need it, or we don't want to get it, then what does it do to your budget? So that's a consideration we are looking at as well.
Okay, great.
Now, are they looking to cap the amount of sales tax that is going to be sent to each municipality again?
No. It was done last year, and largely it was because there was no contract. Now there's been a contract entered into. It's the contracts with the two mayors and the county exec, and it has ramifications for the supervisors in all the towns. But they do have a contract now. They're not going to disturb that. What is a possibility is you have that shared services grant. There's $1 million in the budget right now for that shared services grant next year. That is a possibility that we in the legislature could cut, and that's one thing that I'm considering as a ways, how do we cut our budget? Sales tax, if we bring the sales tax and we figure out how much money can come in on repealing this exemption, can we lower property taxes as a way to try to offset it? And is there anything in the budget? And the shared services is something I'm looking at. That was set up last year as a way of helping the towns who lost sales tax revenue. If we do the sales tax exemption, you're getting revenue. I'm wondering if we should look at that program. The shared services grant went out. A lot of several really good projects, but I kind of question if that's a good use of county tax revenue that people are paying. One of the projects was a software, a Municity or something that will help zoning and planning boards to downsize, consolidate. But I wonder if that should have come from taxpayers' money or whether developers should have been asking to pay a higher fee at the local level. I don't know. So I'm considering that as from my point of view, but I really don't know the future of that program.
Now, has the county received any relief from the state for the unfunded mandates?
No, and that's it. The reality is, if there was talk when they did the property tax cap that the state was going to give us mandate relief, it never happened. Specifically, they looked at early intervention. Early intervention is one of the mandates that for helping young kids with learning disabilities, and we administer in the county through the health department, and we're forced to use county dollars for that. The state mandates it, and there was talk of that there being some mandate relief that never came. You look at the numbers, if that mandate relief had come in that one area, we wouldn't, our gap would have been closed, and we wouldn't even having to be looked at this energy tax exemption.
Is there any discussion at the state level at this time? I know there was a committee or a group formed, and
there's all sorts of committees. I think there's all sorts of lip service. Whether anything's coming down, I wouldn't hold your breath. I think there needs to be pressure on them, but ultimately nothing's happening. And whereas in the past, it would be, they have these mandates, 70% of our county budget is state mandated. We only have 30% of discretionary spending, and in that 30% is services that we would call essential, snow removal and sheriff's offices and social services and mental hygiene and Office of the Aging. So we're really at a tough position. So much of our budget is mandated. And in the past, they've allowed us to raise revenue. Now they're not even allowing us to raise the revenue through an increase in mortgage tax or sales tax, which is consumer oriented. So we're still getting mandated, but we're also not being able to raise revenue, and so we're really in a tough place.
Is it because of the sales tax and the mortgage taxes are so down that we keep going up with the county taxes?
Partly as the revenue and the existing, I mean, I think the real estate market, I think, is picking up, but it's still not enough coming in. Sales tax is kind of stagnant. I mean, even gasoline, which is so high, is now coming down lower. Not a lot, but, so we're not bringing in that revenue. Our biggest revenue is sales tax. And then property taxes is it's hurting. I mean, there is, small pockets here in Pleasant Valley. Last night, they asked me about open space, and they said when land gets conserved, it's no longer being taxed. And, and so I personally believe in open space preservation, but at the same time, there's, tax dollars that aren't coming in. Nonprofits the same way. I just think overall it's the economy. There's pension costs are rising. Utilities are going up. I think it's a lot of different things, and we just can't. The economy's not picking up as fast as it really needs to.
Any other questions?
Is there any more discussion about doing a little different structuring of the Board of Elections, or is that just not coming up right now?
What do you mean by structuring?
I thought that at one time they were considering making it more, let's see, don't you guys appoint the Board of Elections?
We appoint the commissioners.
The
Board of Elections model is determined by the state, and they set that up. Our role as a legislature is we allot a pool of money. We have budget lines for where we think that money should go, and that's how we determine the pool. But in our election law, it goes to the commissioners, who the parties nominate and we confirm every 2 years. And then at that point, they get money. They decide what titles, what jobs, how many people to hire, what to do with it. And then our role is very, very limited in appointing the commissioners and giving them money. I mean, it's pretty much most of it's at the state level. And to my knowledge, there's no real ideas or not ideas, but no movement to really reform it. I think it's a system in need of reform. I think there's a lot of redundancy there, but that's up to the state, and I don't hear anybody.
No, I think it was more the budgeting, I guess, that they were considering redoing how much would be said about how the money is spent once you allocate it.
And that's something where we over the years has been, discussions, because sometimes we haven't liked the way that they're doing it, and we really don't, under the state law, we don't have a say. The Board of Elections falls under the legislative branch, and I used to be the chairman of the Oversight Committee, but when I read the law, we're very limited on what we can tell them how to do it. There's very few things other than, ratifying the commissioners, and the commissioners usually come from the party conventions, and so it's kind of, we've been limited. It's not like we get to interview people. We say, is this person eligible, or is there something there that, and I think going around this next time, where we may say, look, this person may not be the most, qualified, or there may be ethical issues that may, if the party sends somebody back. But we're really limited in the Board of Elections on what we can do and can't do.
So I guess my question is, where do you feel you're going to be able to cut some more? We have a lot of senior citizens here.
Mm-hmm.
They're really screaming.
Right.
The park rents are going up. Everything's going up. Where is it going to stop? We're losing people left and right here.
Right.
Look at who's here. The average age here is probably 55, 60 or
mm-hmm.
more. So,
yeah.
There's a couple here that are younger, but that's it.
Yeah, the layoffs that are targeted are really looking at the middle management. There's several accountant clerks that are looking to be slated, and they're looking at how departments have downsized. Last year, we lost so many employees, partially to the early retirement, that there's right now the layoffs are all the middle management level, and saying, well, we need to consolidate that. Beyond what's in the budget, I mean, we're really looking at it. I'm questioning, do we need a solid waste department? We did not have one for a while. We put one in in order to do the swamp solid waste management plan, and I'm wondering if we still need that. One of the things they do is they license the haulers. Could that be brought over to either the sheriff's department or the county clerk? And so I'm looking at that department as a possibility. I don't think that there's consensus at this point among legislators on that. For years, I think that we need to sell the airport. I think that's a money draining venture that I don't really think is a core function. What's that?
Get rid of the jail too while you're at it.
That we don't have too much of a discretion. I mean, we don't have to have a jail, but right now we're doing the housing.
Privatize it. Why don't you privatize it? Be done with it.
Could be. Yeah, I think the more privatization we can do, the better. You know, I personally don't believe we should have a stake in the stadium. But that's, I voted no on bonds there, and, you know, I don't think there's a consensus there. But ultimately, but it really comes down to what, something's got to change, and it's really got to be, we've been twiddling away departments, and that's not the way we need to really say, what are we doing that we shouldn't be doing? Because right now, we have departments that aren't functioning as they should. We heard from, during our public hearing, we heard from a lady who works in public works and with roads, and she was commenting on how they can't move road projects along because sometimes they're waiting on permits from the health department, because the health department has lost so many people that they're behind in their work. So it's affecting productivity. So I think the more we twiddle and move departments back, we may be saving a little money here, but we're really costing more money. And so really, I think we have to look at what services.
That's another thing too, the same way the health department should be privatized. Most states have privatized their health departments. You know, the same way the approval process for these, it takes years.
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous.
Right.
You know, it's way too complicated. Private engineer can probably do it in 3 or 4 days.
Okay.
You know, it just doesn't make sense.
Why don't they sell the burn plant or privatize that? That's a lot of money.
I've been advocating that as well, and the contract is up, and ultimately we don't own it as a county. The Resource Recovery Agency does public authority. Now we appoint the members of that, and you know, and I've been meeting with several of them saying, why, you know, here's our opportunity. The one bond is up on that. There were 2 bonds. The bond that originally put it together in 1984, 30 years later, it's up. They paid it off a little early. And the second bond, which was the Clean Air Act, that was in the mid-90s. So they were profitable, or at least, you know, they were solvent until the second bond went through. Now one bond is retired, and their attitude is, oh, well, now it'll be profitable and the county won't have to pay, because the county only has to pay when they lose. I personally don't want taxpayers being on the hook at all, and my attitude is saying, well, look, let's move it along, and you move that along, privatized or whatever. Do we need a solid waste department? I'm asking. We operated for several years without one. You know, the DEC did not like that, but we didn't pay for it. We brought it back 3 years ago or so, and the legislature was pushing for it to get a swamp, and I was against it, and I still am, and now we have a swamp, the solid waste management plan, that, in my opinion, I've been very critical. Yes, been very critical of it, and if that's their work product, why should taxpayers pay for it? And I'm saying we should disband it. That's one department we don't need. And it's a small amount, so you're not looking at, it's not going to be the end all and be all to our revenue problem, but it's an area that I do think I think is a low hanging fruit, at least in my opinion, to cut. So.
Mike, I would just like to reemphasize what Darlene said. If you do the energy tax, put the sunset on it. We
Mm-hmm.
can't afford it. We just simply can't afford it. And to have it as something that is ongoing,
Mm-hmm.
without that being in there, it kind of says to us that you're really not trying to make any changes. You're just
Right.
looking for more ways to take money that we don't have to give.
Yeah.
So if you could fight for that, that'd
Yeah,
be terrific.
and I know that there's a number of legislators that are having trouble with it and trouble supporting it, and I don't know what's going to happen. I am bringing a resolution forward to the mortgage tax again this year, and it's I'm being criticized because it's a phantom revenue. Well, we did it last year and it didn't work. Why would we balance our budget that way again? I also think that maybe more pressure on the state legislators in an election year might be helpful. Our county executive prided himself in the fact that he didn't, unlike his predecessor, he did not come out publicly and basically hold the feet to the fire for passing to make our budget whole to the state legislators. Michael Hine over in Ulster County did that with Assemblyman Kevin Cahill, and I don't know if it was helpful or not, but I don't think, without pressure on the state legislators to really help us with our budget, you know, we have a hole, and now and it looks like we may end up, senior citizens may end up having to pay on their energy, on their home heating oil. I think
That makes no sense.
Exactly, and I'm bringing it forward. I don't know if it's a possibility, but I'm bringing it forward so we have a possibility to say, well, maybe we do this mortgage tax, and we ask the state legislators, we put pressure on it, and then if not, maybe in April we have to do a sales tax exemption or something. I don't think we have to do it in this year's budget. I think we could do it later and see where we are, push the can down the road. I just don't think the sales tax exemption repeal is really, I just don't think it's helpful, and I really think it's cruel to people, especially in the winter months.
It doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah. So that's kind of where we're at. And
Thank you.
as always, I welcome your input today, as well as, I'm available for anybody or anybody at home watching TV. Please, the more I hear, the better it is. The more, I've heard from some people in the district about this energy tax being a bad idea. And then I think I share it, and it just, feel free to reach out to me for anything, anytime. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Supervisors' comments. I would like to congratulate Supervisor-elect Perotti and the new board members that are going to take over the first of the year. Congratulations to all. As you all know, that we've also gone through an audit, which has been finished. We should have a report. I think probably it takes about 3 months to get the report, I think.
Yeah, that's what he said.
3 to 4
Probably
months it'll
January.
take. Most, I think, went well, other than the major issue that they had that I met with them was that the records for the employees' time, vacation time, sick time, vacation and comp time has not been properly taken care of. That's one of the issues that they raised. So that's going to have to be dealt with by the board. Sick time, vacation time. There was some other minor stuff. Some of the employees were not paid for 30 minutes or 40 minutes here and there. They did they did all the payrolls. They covered pretty much everything across the board. They went into the town clerk's office, correct? They went into your office a little bit? A little bit. So the budget, all the vouchers were done. That was done. They pulled, I think, 1 year's 6 months vouchers, or 30 days vouchers of 1 year they picked, and we were in pretty good shape with that. So hopefully we don't know what the full report is, but that was one of their major concerns, is you have to have someone oversee we have to come up with some kind of a system where the employee's time is taken care of with one person. Somehow that's got to be dealt with. Either a bookkeeper or someone's appointed to
So
do it.
one central person for all town employees?
All town employees. And
That's not what he told me. He told me I had the best records in the town.
correct. Each department's different, but I'm saying from the town employees, we still need to know at the town level where you are with sick time and so on and so forth, and vacation time on all the employees, one person.
He says send a quarterly report.
Right. So it's all documented, everything has to be documented, that's all. As you all know, the Thomas Young Park, the Amenia landfill, is almost finished. I was there today. They may be done next week. I think there's an issue with the blacktop because of the cold weather. So hopefully they can get the entrance blacktopped.
That's great.
It's actually beautiful. If somebody wants to stop there tomorrow, Liz Rovers will be there tomorrow. If the board members want to stop down, she'll be there.
What time?
She's there all day, from 7 in the morning till 7 at night, probably. If you want to swing by and see her. We're under budget with the thing, so at this point, it's been a pretty good project. It looks great. I walked it today. They've really done a great job.
That's great.
And thanks to everyone for, Stanley did some work, a lot of there and so on and so forth, some stones, and it looks beautiful. What a difference. The budget, I will take another look at it in the morning. We'll run the figures again, but we must have a time frame as to what we have to be done about it.
Next Thursday.
Next Thursday, so you want to set a meeting, and
We do need to.
we need to deal with it.
Yeah.
What's available for everybody?
Next week looks good for me. We have one enhancement committee meeting on the 20th. And a town board meeting on the 21st, so I guess that leaves just the 18th and 19th, actually. unless we want to work over the weekend.
19th works for me.
19th work for you?
We're talking evening
Yeah.
on the 19th? Yeah.
7 o'clock,
7:30.
7:30? Okay. I'll just reiterate the Main Street grant is moving along, it's almost finished, it looks great. Unfortunately, I do agree with Mike Collins that there's a lot more stuff that has to be done. I think the town has to rethink the way we operate on some certain levels as far as maintenance of sidewalks, streetscape, and so on and so forth. Also, the Lions Club, you see the red flags on the poles. The Lions Club, at their expense, installed those flags, which I think is great. I've been working with the state police and the sheriff's office about the speeders. They're catching them left and right downtown. So, some cars drive through 75, 80, 100 miles an hour through downtown Amenia. It's incredible the way they speed. So hopefully they can get that under control, especially when they're late for the train. It's very, very dangerous. Other than that, that's all I have. Town board comments?
I'd say that the talent show was very lovely. We had a wide range of talents, which I was sure we had here in Amenia. A lot of hidden talents came to the fore. We had the Harlem Valley Drummers, did an interactive ancient kind of Native American song. Tonya Shomatoff helped with that. We had Brian and Aiden Peary and two friends do lip sync to What Does the Fox Say? I was curious about that. It had a very, very prominent debut on YouTube, so I didn't know anything about it. Everybody else with small children knows what that is. Tiny cheerleaders performed in the gym. It was very nice. Karen Strassel did a great job. Had about 20 kids do a very quick 10-minute snapshot of what they're really going to do in February. It was lovely. It was nice to have the members of the community come out and support, very, very modest talents to, amazing. We had an amazing Hallelujah by Veronica Gonzi, who's just got an amazing, incredible voice and presence. It was a great time for people to try out the stage. We learned a little bit about the inadequacies of our PA system, even with Jim and his professional sound system. Some of the more seasoned performers realized no matter where they were with the microphone, they got feedback. They kept hearing their voice a minute afterwards, and they looked surprised, but they carried on. It was good experience for them. It was good experience for us. I afterwards said to Jim, what do we need to make this easier for people who want to use the gym for community purposes? And I believe the answer is that we need to install a professional PA system. I've worked with Ballantine Communications in Pleasant Valley, and Peter, the fellow who's doing the Amenia musical, Casson, also has lots of information that I'm supposed to look on the web, but I'm really not a acoustics professional. I would bring in Ballantine and have them give us a couple of estimates and start looking for grants. That's how I would do it. Have them look over the existing wires, maybe talk to Jim Devine and Peter and find out what they need, and have the groups who come in with their guitars and their own sound system provide that, but have us a basic PA system where a vocalist and an announcer can get good information. There's tremendous feedback, so I know that we need some kind of curtains or some kind of sound baffle or whatever. There are things that exist to cut down on that.
Yeah, you need to put some acoustical tiles up in there for sure.
We are definitely needing
too live of a hall.
Some youth, and there's a program in there. I invite everybody to come see. There's a program, the Dance Studio 22 is doing a recital there on the 16th, this Saturday. If you have any interest, is it from 2 to 9? She's rented it for 2 to 9.
She's just rented the hall from 2 to 9. We'd have to check with her.
So at some point there is, Heather Holohan is a professional. She'll also give us probably some feedback about
We should ask the Peace Festival, because they have rented professional equipment for years and at reasonable prices.
Yeah, Valentine, you can also rent stuff for a particular performance. What I'm thinking, though, for a talent show or for, community use, we should invest in the basic stuff so that we don't have to bring in Jim for every movie night and bring in Jim for a talent show and bring in Jim for a dance recital, have something. And I think it's grant fundable because there's so many community uses that could be had in that auditorium that would benefit. The investment would be high on the dollar spent, I would think. Rather than each group having to find out and re-rent what they need. The other thing is that we're thinking about doing another program February 15th. I guess that's Peter Cascone wants to try another bluegrass band to help raise funds for this kind of item. Our little talent show, I didn't get a chance to really publicize it properly, but we did raise just under $200. People brought refreshments and that sort of thing. It was very low key, but I think maybe there's a chance to fundraise for some of these items once we figure out how much it's going to cost and do it in phases. There's also a small grant that is out there that I thought I would make the community aware of that's just come up from a group called Quest that I sit on for the Berkshire Taconic Community Foundation. The grant deadline is January. We've just put out a press release. You can check the website as well. It's money for very specific. Our first project, there's a small endowment that's been made at Berkshire Taconic for achieving excellence in the Weebatuck School District. Outside projects meant to supplement, not actually in other words, what the school does, the school does. This would help supplement and provide the extra bells and whistles that the school district is not going to be able to fund. And it's about $300 to $1,000, anything that would improve literacy in children kindergarten through third grade. That's their focus. And it could be any kind of creative, music, arts, but it has to include a component of encouraging children to be more, to use their literacy skills, reading, writing, making a journal. So
that sounds like a perfect fit for the library.
The library would be a perfect fit, and in fact, we did talk to the Northeast Library and Amenia, so they already are on board as far as just knowing that that's our focus.
Good.
That was my main issue. I really did the talent show because I'd heard about a garage band in Amenia by a 10-year-old and a 14-year-old who had been performing, and I wasn't sure how we would ever see these things. So that was wonderful to show off what's happening in our town hall, the cheerleaders and the drummers, and also some things that are happening in people's garages and young kids who need, who appreciate the chance to perform to a very a good audience. And we were a great audience. We did interactive things with the drummers, and it was just all over the map. A couple of two children were in authentic Chinese outfits, and they sang very nicely and did all 50 states. It was a wide range of talents. That's it for me.
Any other board comments?
Yes, I just wanted to announce that the Amenia Recreation Cheerleading Squad would like to invite everyone to its Winter Carnival fundraiser on Friday, November 15th from 5 to 8 at the Amenia Town Hall, Route 22. There will be games and activities for children, a tag sale, raffles, a 50-50 raffle, and refreshments. And also the Amenia Fire Company will sponsor its all-you-can-eat monthly breakfast on Sunday, November 17th from 7:30 to 11 a.m. at the Firehouse on Mechanic Street. Prices for adults are $7, children and seniors are $6. The pancakes, French toast, omelets, eggs, toast, hash browns, bacon, sausage, and beverages. Please come out and support your local fire department.
I have one item. Smithfield Church, we have a photography exhibit on Sunday afternoons until December 7th. It will be exhibition of the Four Seasons of Smithfield. It's put on by the Housatonic Camera Club, and they did it last year, and they sold more photographs than any other place that they have exhibited. And they wanted to extend it for the whole season, so there's quite an array. We have 39 photographs there, as well as unframed photos that people can buy. So it's from 2 to 4 every Sunday afternoon.
I just wanted to mention that the Hudson Valley Yarn Crawl is going to be happening on November 23rd and 24th. A lot of the farms and small shops in our area are going to be involved. There's information about it in the Millerton News as well as on the Facebook page. So please take a look at that and support your local farmers and businesses. And for a PSA, it's the season to light candles and light fires and cuddle up under a blanket and, you know, be all nice and cozy. But please use your fire open flames in your house with care. This is a brochure that we have here at Town Hall that you can go ahead and pick up. But as Dawn Marie is always emphasizing with her affiliation with the fire department, please don't have them come and visit your house. Use your candles with care and enjoy your evening. Don't have Chris and Dawn and the gang come on by to visit you. That would not be the way to have an enjoyable evening. So stop by Town Hall and pick up one of the brochures. It'll give you more information. Thanks.
I'm going to add one more thing. I was at the farmer's market, picked up really great fresh local meat, produce. It's still a great bread. All kinds of different things in preparation for Thanksgiving. Don't forget about your local sources of food, and it's great here in the gym. Lots of little gifts for bringing for house gifts when you go visiting.
Library of Congress grant. That's what it was. Library of Congress might have a grant that'll suit the...
Oh,
I know, it's strange, but I saw it in the grants database.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
I have to back up a little bit. I have a letter from Mary Wilkins, who's the treasurer for the Holiday of Lights. I think she spoke to you, Victoria. There's a balance of $398.36, which they've closed that account. So I guess that's got to be put into an account here.
Yeah.
Community beautification.
Yeah, Sherry got the check.
Right. Okay. That's done. There's also proposed town code text amendments, which we discussed about it briefly, I think a meeting or two ago, that there should be a meeting between the town board and the planning board as to what changes they want to make to the zoning and zoning laws and I think some of the comp plan. So that's something we have to deal with. Also, we have to deal with the consultants of the planning board. Their terms are due, so we have to reappoint the consultants for the planning board and the attorney. We have a letter from Whitman, Osterman, and Hannah, which will cap the retainer services at $12,000, which we discussed this a month or so ago, I believe. So what's the board's flavor on that one?
I thought it was 13.
The 13? It's 12, let's see. We capped at 12,000. There are some outs as far as the cap, so that has to be, I think we put in the planning board as 12,000, correct?
I think that sounds fine.
Okay, I'll make a motion, we accept the contract from Whitman, Osterman, and Hannah.
Wait a second.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Reber?
Yes.
Councilwoman Brody?
Yes.
Councilwoman Henselberger?
No.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
And Supervisor Flood?
Yes. Also, there's a letter, contract from George James, who is the planning and with technology, who is the visual, who does all our visual stuff for all our planning department. This is done for as a we don't pay him direct, it's an escrow thing. His his fee would be $160 for him, senior associate $110, associate's $90, which is the same as this effective January 1, 2014. I'll make a motion, we accept that.
I'll second that.
What's the date today, 14th?
14. Councilwoman Reamer?
Yes.
Councilwoman Perotti?
Have they got any agreements from anyone else, or is he the only one?
He's the only one that does it.
He's needed to interpret the visual
I know what he
overlays.
does. I just didn't know if he was the
Scenic
only person that
Protection.
they tried to get estimates from.
When we originally did this, he's the only one that could do what we had to do and did it.
I think it's an extremely specialized
Correct.
skill.
He's one of the best, or the best, that you can get.
And I think they're about done with their
Yeah.
role.
Right.
It's really just to make sure that he's on to finish whatever
And he
questions
knows the
they
town
have.
well. He's followed it so far
Yeah.
along since we did the master plan.
Right.
It's just, it'd be very hard to carry on the last bit without
Okay, yes.
that kind of.
Okay.
Okay. Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
No.
Councilwoman Perotti? And Supervisor?
Yes. The next one is the Taconic Site Design and Landscape Architect to Peter Karras, who's done an incredible job for us. He's brought us, the town to another level. I'd like to make a motion that we accept his contract.
I would second.
Councilwoman Reamer?
I did second.
You seconded, can you just say
Oh,
yes? Thank you.
yes, yes.
Councilwoman Perotti?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
No.
And Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Supervisor Flood?
Yes. Next is Dr. Michael Clemens, January 1st to December 31st. His rate is $350 an hour, which is also an escrow amount, who's worked for the town, I think the last 4 or 5 years, who's done an incredible job with our zoning comprehensive plan and all our applicants that have come in front of us. So I'd like to make a motion that we continue with Dr. Clemens.
I'll second that.
Councilwoman Reamer?
Yes.
Councilwoman Perotti?
No.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
No.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Supervisor Flood?
Yes. Mary Ann Johnson, who's the next one, is our, the planning.
That was Clemens.
It's hard to read.
She oversees our planning department, or the comprehensive plan and our zoning to make sure that the applicants meet within our codes. I'd like to make a motion that we continue with Mary Ann Johnson. This is also an escrow account that we don't pay for.
Councilwoman Reamer?
Second.
Oh, she seconded.
Oh, she did, I didn't hear it, yes.
Councilwoman Perotti?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
No.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
And Supervisor Flood?
Yes. Last but not least is Roy Soika and Andrews, who is our engineering firm, who has worked with us, I think, for the past 10 years. Vicki, I think, right?
A long time.
A long time.
Maybe 20, I don't know.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the contract with Rody Soika and Andrews.
I'll second it.
Councilwoman Reamer?
Yes.
Councilwoman Perotti?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
No.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
And Supervisor Flood?
Yes. That's all I have.
Are we going to consider the minutes at the next meeting? We were given minutes.
Did you get them?
I don't have
I don't have them. Did you
Yeah.
distribute?
They were sent.
They were sent by email.
Okay.
Do you want to
We'll table them to the next meeting then.
That's fine.
When did you send them?
It's about 10 days ago.
Yeah.
Look in your mailbox. There's,
Okay,
it doesn't say minutes in the subject line, but it's from Don Maurice.
okay. I'll check it.
You
You'll
wanna
find
take
it.
these? Nina has to sign these?
Yeah, I don't, okay, so see, these are all marked copies too.
You need original?
Yeah. We'll work on this tomorrow, and I'll get original signed
All right, okay.
I didn't have them. They weren't in my packet.
That's all I have.
I believe.
That's all I
Hey,
have.
Tanya, did you want to make an announcement?
Yep.
Yeah, I guess it should be one. I just want to say that
Time's up.
the Housatonic Valley Association was approached by Weathersfield. They heard the Amenia Town minutes regarding what we had offered to do something on flooding resilience, and they would like to fund it. We're working out a budget. I have to talk to the executive director now. I've been talking to some of the lower people, but it's very nice that Weathersfield is offering their space and contributions towards a flooding resilience forum. We've not been able to get this information in Eastern Dutchess County because it's only funded by the DEC over by the Hudson River. So it's important information, and we're working on getting it next year.
They found that extra money they were missing?
Pardon?
They found that money that's missing?
No, I think they're reaching out to the public, so this
They're-
is great. I'm glad
Yeah.
they're open.
They
to
want,
it
I think
finally.
they really want to
Yeah.
do something good for the region and for Amenia in particular. So we're
Wonderful.
very happy, and we're working with them.
Great.
Okay. I'll make a motion, we adjourn the meeting.
I'll second it.
Councilwoman Reamer?
Yes.
Councilwoman Crody?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle? And
Yes.
Supervisor Fly.
Yep.
I want to thank you